Let me start by posing this question that I think we oftentimes ask. I turned 51 yesterday. Yes, I know I look 64 now, just kidding. But you know, people ask oftentimes, thank you very much for the congrats there. You know, why am I here? What's my purpose in being here? And, you know, I think one of the things that is so exciting to me about what we do at Vector is we help people on their path. And one of the things that we do oftentimes is we give you a new set of tools for your toolbox. How many of you at some point or another while working here have recognized some strengths that maybe you knew were kind of latent, but you weren't really tapping into? So I had never sold anything before I started working with our company. I thought I was good with people, but this gave me the opportunity to really stretch myself and really demonstrate that I actually am pretty good with people. You know, it also gave me an opportunity to like work with, you know, some goal setting. I always thought I was goal oriented, but, you know, I didn't have a lot of opportunities at my lifeguarding job to kind of practice that, right? And so, or my caddying job, that was my first job ever. And so I've developed some strengths, and it really kind of rounded me out in a much more meaningful way than many other jobs that I had prior. And then I think about, you know, what does the world need, right? What the world needs, I think personally, is people that act as leaders. And again, you know, this is no commentary on any one in particular, but I just think that we all would agree that the world is more interconnected than it's ever been. And simultaneously, as a result, the challenges that happen in one part of the world seem to have an impact on your part of the world in a much more meaningful way than it was 51 years ago when I was born. And what I want to share with you is that I think the world needs us to perform and to be our best self. You know, Matthew Kelly wrote a book called The Rhythm of Life, and he talks about being the best version of yourself. And what I'd recommend is that you look at, you know, what is your purpose? Why are you here? You know, I think it's your strengths and what does the world need? And if we can meet those two needs, you know, I think you're going to have a very fulfilled life. When I look back at my life, you know, those are the things that I've noticed. So when I think about the Vector business, you know, what my objective is to grow as a leader. I actually can't see what it says there. I had this printed out, but grow as a leader and contribute to the growth of other leaders to make the most meaningful impact on the world, right? And when I think about why you're here, my desire and my outcome is for you to continue to evolve in your leadership, right? To continue to hone on your interpersonal communication skills, to hone in on your listening skills, to develop the ability to persuade. You know, that matters. And again, I was talking to our son, it was a year ago. He said, I want to get better at, by the way, he was 8 at the time, right? He said, I want to get better at manipulating people. And I said, I don't think that's what you mean. He goes, do you mean being able to influence people? And he goes, yeah, that's what I mean. I go, you know, I was really thankful that he didn't want to manipulate people. I said, that's a great thing to learn how to influence others. And I said, that really is what leadership is all about. We were recently looking over our objectives for 2020. At the beginning of this year, we kind of reset what our objectives are for this year and how they wanted to grow as humans. I also think that the job really helps develop initiative. You know, the job doesn't pay very well to people who procrastinate. And I remember being a representative, and I remember having talent, but not really utilizing that. And I remember seeing other representatives who had more initiative than I did, who sold a lot more than I did. And it was that competitive juice in me that was really stirred by the people who I was like, I don't think they're any better than me, but they definitely have more initiative than I do. And I think that's another skill set that we really enhance and develop while being here. Again, I can tell you there's a whole host of others. And I just want you to consider how you've grown and what strengths have really been highlighted while you're here. with that in mind, I was looking this up about a month or two ago, and I was looking up what are the life-defining moments. And so I Googled it, right? That's what we do in today's era, right? You want an answer, you either ask Alexa, ask Siri, or you Google it. And they talked about these are the life-defining moments, getting married or divorced. And for those of you that have gotten either married or divorced, you would agree that that's a life-defining moment. When my wife and I got married, we're going to celebrate. We've been married since 2007, on the 19th of January. That was a kind of a game changer for me in terms of how I saw myself and how I saw my relationship with my wife, et cetera. Starting a new job or leaving an old one. For some of you, this is a new job. And I remember as a representative, I took a walk with my mom yesterday, and she was talking to me about how she said, your father really wasn't super keen on the fact that you were selling knives. And I had never known this. I really didn't. He never said anything about it. He passed away in 2015. And I said, you never shared that with me. She's like, I kept that from you because I didn't want that getting in your way. And I was like, that's wonderful. And at the same time, it's one of those things where I think oftentimes, when you're starting a new job, I reflected back at how much I've grown with the onset of that job. She was talking to me about what she said. She said, I didn't want your enthusiasm to be squashed by what he thought. And I really thank my mom for that, because at that point, I was super enthusiastic about the job because I was learning a lot about myself. I was developing a lot of the skills that, again, we talked about, and really enhancing those and evolving as a human. And I was really excited about that. Sometimes leaving an old job is a defining moment, right? Taking a big trip. I remember, in fact, I sold Cutco for the summer, and then I went to Japan for 4 months. And I remember that was kind of a life-defining moment. I wrote out like everything I wanted out of the next 5 years of my life. And it's really interesting how a lot of those things really ended up happening. Paying for debt, there's that feeling. We have a district manager who was a representative a year ago who had, I think it was $20,000 in debt. And she is now debt-free. Because she changed her job, right? Because she's looking at things differently. Sometimes just finishing school, being done with it, retiring. I have a good friend who retired at a very young age because he made some good money selling Cutco. And again, there are many other people that have retired at young ages. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Cutco is the only way or the only path for everyone. But, to him, I said, that's so cool, that you feel that you want to retire. And again, losing a loved one, again, for me, again, it's when my father passed away, it was one of those times where for the first time in my life, I felt like I am, I'm going to, for lack of a better word, say like, I am a man. Like I have to be really responsible now. And what I want to share with you all is that you now have this opportunity, to pivot with this new job that you've got. A lot of you have a new job, and maybe it's a new job for a couple of weeks. I remember when I started selling Cutco, my approach and my attitude, my mom had owned Cutco for 5 years. My cousin had, I'm going to say, quote unquote, sold Cutco. He really didn't sell much, but he sold, one of the people he sold to was my mom. And so her paradigm, the way that she thought about Vector was, it's going to be, a couple of week job. Maybe it's going to be like a month or seasonal job. And so my attitude towards it was, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks. If I don't like it, I'm going to quit. And that was the approach I had for the first 2 weeks. And then I was like, I like it. I'm going to do it for a month. And if I don't like it after a month, then I'm going to quit. And again, it just kind of kept going. And then I went to Japan for 4 months. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that Vector thing again. So when I came back from Japan, it was 1992. The economy was kind of rocky still. And I started looking for other jobs. And I just, my brother told me, he's like, you seem to really enjoy what you're doing. This is the brother, by the way, whose niece is now selling Cutco, or whose daughter is now selling Cutco, is my niece. And he's like, you seem to like what you do. If you like what you do, he had just graduated from law school. His wife had just graduated from law school. And he said, I have a lot of friends who are lawyers, and I'm not bashing lawyers, right? He said, I know a lot of friends that are lawyers right now just to pay off their law school. He goes, if you like this, just stick with it. And, that was great advice that he gave me. And so when I think about, taking the opportunity of a new job and really kind of redefining yourself, I just wanted to highlight some of the top representatives since December 29th. So this is who has sold, Cutco since December 29th. That some of the top reps over 7,500. We've got Alex Funk, Kelly Kinzer, Lindley, Shaylee, Lauren. By the way, if you're on, just kind of like do a little wave again. I'm getting a call from Dane Espigard in this moment. All right, then we go to, let's see, Lauren, we have Thomas Stanton, Jack, we got Haley, Audrey, Lane, Aaron, Emma, we got Andy Burton, Jack Ryan, Kayla, we got Danny, we got Jeff Teresi, Isaiah, Ainsley, Jared Erickson, who again started selling Cutco last year, right around this time. I think has sold well over $100,000 at Cutco. You can see how this has been a career defining, or it's been a career, this new job has been a life defining moment, I would imagine, for Jared. Jerry Azinger, who, by the way, is, sold over $5 million or $1 million at Cutco. Ryan Devine, Morgan Phillips, who was one of the top representatives this summer. I think she sold somewhere around $80,000 at Cutco last year. Zach, who you're going to hear from, Nick Snyder, Kira, Casey, Tara Michelli. Tara she's a grandmother. It's super, she's a young grandmother, I will tell you. She's, 50s or so. And what I'll tell you is that not if you're over 60, that you're an old grandmother, again, for all transparency, right? But, what's really cool is that Tara lives life on her terms. She works when she wants to, and she sells quite a bit of Cutco. Joey Vitullo, by the way, his brother Bobby was a top representative, and a top manager also. So Joey, if you're on, nice to see and hear from you. Brady Brown, we got Sarah Turner, Lisa, Elliot James, he was a top branch manager. I'll talk about that in a minute. Sold 14,000. He definitely didn't need it for the money, but he did it to lead the team. Faith Perkins, 14,000. She's a CSP. Julian, sorry about that, from St. Paul. Is Julian on this call? Can I get is Julian happens to be on this call? If not, no big deal. Just wanted to give Julian a shout out. If you happen to work with Julian in St. Paul, give her hey, Mike, called your name out and give you a thumbs up. So great job, Julian. I think you're a new representative. That's why I'm recognizing her. These top three, they're career sales professionals. In other words, they started out all as college students selling Cutco. They were all like 18, 19 or so. And, Katie, she's continued selling Cutco this last year. She's a mom of two. What she does is she sells Cutco to realtors. So we're the #1 closing gift in America. Last year, she had her best year ever, selling around 300,000, and she works like 9 to 3 because her kids are done with school at 3, and so she wants to hang out with her kids. And I think that's a really cool thing to be able to, in the last 15 days or so, make $7,000. Ari Eberman, he's a dad of 3. They've got two twin daughters, and Ari and Kyle were selling around the same time, right? Kyle, isn't that? Right. And it's not like Ari was planning on being here this long, but he was like, I like it. And he earned a scholarship his first summer. And then his second summer while at University of Illinois, Champaign, same thing. And then 4 summers in a row, he sold like, 40,000 each summer. So he's like, yeah, I'm pretty good at this. He ended up leaving the business to go work with another company and then came back because he was like, I really like this. It's fun. And again, he made $8,000. He makes half in the last 2 weeks. That's pretty cool. And then there's Mike Dowd, who right now is with his wife in Disney World in Florida. Or at least he was 2 days ago, I know. And they've got 3 kids, and he's made $12,000 selling Cutco just like you. So part of the reason I'm sharing that is the rep opportunity. If you haven't really explored what its potential is, I encourage you to explore it. So for me, when I was a new representative, I completely dabbled. I dabbled with the job. I was like, I'll do an appointment here and there. I'll make some calls, but I'm not really going to commit to it. All I would say to you is I would encourage you all to consider, hey, do 5 demos on Saturday. 5 demos after 12 noon Central Time. See what happens. I promise you nothing bad will happen. I remember Ari Aberman, his first summer, he attended a conference like this. His first demo after that, Homemaker Plus 8. And he then almost every year, he felt like he had this good luck charm after conferences where he'd sell a Homemaker. And I can't tell you how many times Ari has told me, guess what I sold after this conference? It was always like a Homemaker Ultimate. And I got to tell you that if I'm you, I'm trying to book up a demo, probably 12:15 Central Time tomorrow, 11:15 Mountain Time for those of you in the Mountain Time. I would try to have 5 demos on Saturday. If you do that, I think you got a really good shot at a grand day. And some of you might have a shot at a $2,000 day. All right, so let me continue on here. And I want to walk you through just kind of the steps of the vector opportunity. And, you're all sales representatives, it's a great start, and you have to start somewhere. And if you earn the respect of your managers in a meaningful way, you're going to get promoted to key staff. And this is where everything happens. For me, when I ran an office, I used to tell people, I love I like our representatives. I love our key staff. Right? I'll take calls from representatives when I'm not too busy. I will always take the call of a key staffer. Right? They're like the starters of the team. When I think of key staffers, they're the people that earn the most. They sell the most, obviously, because they earn the most, or vice versa. They also earn promotions quicker. They also have the best resume. Consequently, they have the most fun. And when I think of key staffers, I think of someone who, this is what, in my opinion, as the region manager, this is what it takes to be on key staff. If you have a good attitude and you put forth a good effort. Notice I was intentionally vague on that. For some people, a good effort is 5 appointments. Maybe you have another full-time job. Maybe you're a full-time student and you play a sport, and 5 appointments all you can do. Right? But for some of you, good effort is 10 appointments a week, 5 on the weekend, 1 a day. For others of you, it's like 20 appointments. So I use a vague term like good effort because for each of you, you're in a different situation. Good attitude, what I think about with good attitude is, are you coachable? Are you easy to get along with? And do you like helping people? Those people are the ones that we want on our key staff, because if you get promoted to key staff, your manager will usually give you an extra hour a week where they're going to teach you everything they know in a quicker time frame. I wish I could teach you all everything I know about Cutco. I wish there was a movie many years ago, The Matrix. Maybe you've seen the movie, and they would you'd say like, I need to fly a helicopter, and somehow they would like telepathically get you all the data about how to fly a helicopter. I wish I could do that. I wish I could stick the thing in the back of your head where you could fly a helicopter in less than 8 seconds. That analogy would be, I wish I could teach you everything I know about selling Cutco in that short time frame. And so do your managers, but they can't. And so what we have is we have different meetings, like this meeting, for instance. Maybe you have Champions Club, but key staff, to me, that's what I taught the higher level information. To the representatives, I taught like the basics. To key staffers, I taught the higher level, which that's why they sold more. So you don't have to sell more to be on key staff. We'll take care of that part. You just have to have a good attitude, good effort, right? If you do that well, we'll probably promote you to an assistant manager. Just ask your manager, like, hey, are there any assistant manager openings? I know each of your managers, and I can confidently tell you 95% of them have openings right now. So maybe they haven't mentioned it, and I wouldn't take that personally. But I remember working with a representative. His name was Peter Revelinsky, and he was at like 10,000 in sales. And he was like, Mike, can I be on key staff? And I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. He's like, I really want to be an assistant manager. And he just kind of kept at it. And then finally I was like, all right, we'll promote you to key staff. We do have an assistant manager opening. You'd have to, jump tall buildings, or, with the suit. What's the Superman thing? You guys know what I'm saying, right? Leap over tall buildings, whatever. That, because he was kind of dabbling with the job. And I said, Peter, I want to see you step up. And he really stepped up. And I said, guess what? This happens to be the month. And it was January, by the way. This happens to be the month we're making decisions about assistant managers in one of our branch offices. Guess what? You can work with this person. Lo and behold, that happened to be one of the number 3 branch manager in the company. Great experience that summer. And then Peter then ran a branch office for us the next year. So what I'll tell you is, just like key staff is the path to assistant manager is the path to branch manager. And I'll talk to you what a branch manager is. It's essentially what your manager is. They recruit, they train, and they develop a sales staff. But they do it for the summer only. So a branch manager is typically a college student. They do it for the summer only. And I got to tell you, they blew it out of the water this year. Some of you may have heard that this last year was our best year ever as a company. And our branch managers had a better experience than ever. And I'll explain that in just a minute. If you do well as a branch manager, or if you're not in school, you can kind of leapfrog branch manager and go right to district manager or CSP or CGC. So CSP, CGC, that is someone who sells Cutco year round. So Mike Dowd, for instance, he has a database of 5,000, 10,000 customers. He just sends emails out. He goes to like the Scott Air Force Base and is able to sell Cutco on the Air Force Base. When we were kind of interacting at like malls, by the way, he was at the St. Louis West County Mall, right? Selling Cutco at the mall. You're able to do bigger picture events. So the Iowa State Fair, think the the Minnesota State Fair, the Illinois State Fair, or think of like McCormick Place if you're from Chicago. You're able to just sit behind a booth and ask people, do you want to buy Cutco? It's a really cool opportunity, but we reserve that only for the top representatives. Now, in a year of COVID, there's a lot less of that happening, as you can imagine. But again, as vaccinations start uptaking, we're imagining that that's going to take off again. CGC, I mentioned that earlier. That's Katie Haney. She's the young woman. She's in her 30s, by the way, with two kids, as I mentioned. Maybe she's 40, but she's the one that I was saying. She works 9 to 3. She sells Cutco to realtors over Zoom. Pretty cool. Okay, and our CSPs and CGCs sell usually somewhere between $300,000 to $750,000, and they make half. So you can make 6 figures as a representative selling Cutco, or you can pivot and become a district manager. Well, the last 3 years, our district managers have averaged $73,000 for income. You all know how averages work, right? Some people make less than that. There's the bell curve, right? Some people make more than that. Well, the profit and losses I've been seeing this year from our district managers, I've never seen this many people who are district managers in the 6-figure range. I've never seen it like this in my entire career, and that includes my running a district office back in the 90s. It is at an all-time high, and their job satisfaction, I think, is also at an all-time high, because we're leveraging some of the strength of the division manager. So district managers, they have a chance to like earn a Rolex watch, drive a BMW. They have company trips. So I was talking to our national sales promotion manager about the trip this year that we have announced next year. This year to Australia and New Zealand. So we were supposed to go to Spain for a week, but because of COVID, we canceled it. And now we're going to go to Australia, New Zealand for more than a week. It's like that's pretty awesome. We have trips that are available. And what's really cool is there are some people, I was talking to one of our district managers that saved about $500,000. He's married, he's got a home, he's got Airbnb, et cetera. There's other people who they live the life. They're in their young 20s and, they're just having a blast while they're doing it. But they're business owners who are part-time coaches, basically part-time cheerleaders, part-time teachers, part-time role models. That's what our district managers are. And if you do really well at that, you can become a division manager. I loved being a division manager. It was a great position to have with our company. You're responsible for district and branch managers. You're running an organization that does somewhere between $2 million to $10 million. I started seeing some profits from some of our division managers also. They were on the lower end of like 150,000 on up to $500,000. And so I loved being a division manager, not just for the income, but I was working with career people, and I was using the same skill sets that I learned as a sales rep. And if you do well as a division manager, you can have my job. And I'd be fired up if you got me promoted to president and you took my job. So I'm not looking to stop where I'm at, but I wanted to lay out what's available to you. I also wanted to explain to you what's really within your reach. You could run a branch office this summer. It would be a far stretch for most of you who are new, by the way. But we've had people that really just kind of took to the job, right? And of the 207 branch offices this summer, basically 12% of them profited over 25,000. So you got to ask yourself, am I the type of person that finishes in the top 10%, 12%? 61% of them, 30% profited over 15,000. And this is as college students. They ran a business. They did, $100,000 plus. 90 of them, almost half of them profited over $10,000. When I was in college, you couldn't sniff earning $10,000 unless you were doing something illegal. Like those people maybe earned $10,000 in a summer, but practically everyone was profitable. And just like any business, like if you open up a restaurant, you're not guaranteed to be profitable, and neither is a branch manager, but they're practically guaranteed profit. What is that? 4% weren't profitable. Most businesses that open, 90% of them fail within their first 5 years. Most of them fail in their first year. And we're doing this all in a COVID timeframe. All right, let me just move on. Last thing I want to share with you is some keys to success as a representative. All right. Number one is, I think always, as with everything that you're doing, be a student. Try to learn everything you can. And to be a student, you need to be coachable. What I'm ultimately getting at is have a growth mindset. Be the type of person who, when they encounter obstacles and adversity, say, how can I learn from that? I just got off the phone about 20 minutes ago with someone who once worked with our company, who had a really important role and left, and said, you know what, I can't tell you how much I learned at the job. And I think that just like any other job, you can take from it and learn, or you can complain about it. There's always things to complain about with every job. All right. But I want to encourage you to be a student. Nobody pops out of the womb screaming Cutco and knowing how to sell homemakers. Not one person. I was not a good manager when I started. I became a student of the business. I asked questions. I asked a lot of questions of a lot of successful people. That's my advice to you. Second key to success is be willing to put forth the effort, right? I remember my first day at high school. My high school was about a mile away from here, Loyola Academy. And they said something to this effect. They said, what you put in is what you get out. And I remember that to this day. They were talking, to us as freshmen, like what you put in is what you get out. And you know what I found in life? What you put in is usually what you get out. And sometimes there's a delay on that, right? Just like with school, like you can work hard and get straight A's in high school, and you're not going to necessarily get a benefit from that immediately. Maybe you get into a good college. You can get straight A's in college, but you don't get a direct benefit as a first-year student or second-year student, but maybe you do afterwards. And again, delayed gratification is not necessarily a bad thing. At this position, if you put forth good effort, you sell $10,000 next week, we're going to give you, a good paycheck. Have outcomes. In other words, know what you want to get out of things. So for this meeting, like you saw the agenda, what do I want to get out of it? Do I want to learn how to close big? Do I want to learn how to close with Cutco owners? Do I want to expand my names list so I have hundreds to call? Right? Well, you're going to hear all of those things. Do I want to have more names? Right? Have outcomes for your day. Like, do I want to make 20 phone calls every day? I remember there was a top representative. He was the number one representative in the region. His name was Jason Cromley. And he said, I get on the phone 3 times a day, and I do it every day, 365 days a year. I make enough phone calls until I line up one appointment. Sometimes I make one phone call and I line up one appointment, but I do it 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, middle of the day, end of my day. So guess what? He had a lot of appointments. He would have like 20 appointments a week, 20 appointments a week over 50 weeks, right? He would take a 2-week vacation. You're going to sell a lot of Cutco. Oftentimes, people that are rewarded aren't those that are the most talented. They're the ones that are the most consistent with their effort. So in other words, again, have outcomes. Why are you here? Have an outcome. Have an outcome when you go into a demo. Hey, I want to make a friend and I want to sell them as much Cutco as is kind of the right amount of Cutco to sell them. Not everyone should get an ultimate set, but everyone should, in my opinion, even if they never cook, should have like a paring knife, a trimmer, a spatula spreader, a petite carver, because they're going to cut stuff in their home. You know, probably some table knives, maybe the shears, maybe a peeler, maybe a pizza cutter. Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to make elaborate meals, but you want to make a friend on every appointment and help satisfy their needs. So have outcomes with anything you do. You go to a team meeting, have an outcome. I want to learn, right? You're going to get, you know, very often in life, I've gotten what I wanted out of it. I wanted to get something out of today, learn and grow. Bam, it's happening. Number 4 is have standards. So have standards for no matter what happens on this demo, I'm going to have fun. No matter what happens, I'm going to learn something, right? Then you are always successful, whether you make a sale or not. Have a standard for, I'm going to sell 1,000 a week or 2,000 a week or 3,000 a week, whatever that is. A good friend of mine said, hey, you know what? I want to sell, for the next 10 weeks, I want to sell 60,000 or 6,000 each week. So guess what happened? He did it, right? So have a standard and follow it and go after it. Have a standard for yourself also of like, what do I want to see happen? And then the last point is manage your state. All right. And I remember hearing from, I think she went to MIT and then Stanford and then somewhere else completely impressive. So she was speaking about like happiness and well-being. And I was like, I'm going to listen to this woman. She's brilliant and she knows what she's talking about. So this was research-based. And she said there are 5 things that make you feel better. And when you are in a better place, when I'm in a better place, I always perform better. Number 1, she said, exercise. You know, this year's been fascinating. I haven't gone to the gym since March. I was in Paris. That was the last time I was at the gym. But I've actually worked out almost every day. And I've had to like find radical ways to work out in the winter, right? But you can always work out. You know, it changes your biochemistry when you exercise and you work out. So that's just a fact. You always also feel a sense of accomplishment. Number 2, it's journal. Write down your thoughts. Write down what you want to accomplish. Write down your outcomes. Write down, you know, what you'd like to see happen. Write down your frustrations. There's something very cathartic and therapeutic in doing that. Again, this isn't Mike Muriel's tips. This is, I forget the woman's name, but it's stuck with me and I talk about it to whoever I can. Number 3 is acts of kindness. Simple things like, and I'm not exaggerating, I say this often, like if I'm like, I'm really busy, I don't know if I can do like random acts of kindness. When I drive, I stop at the stoplight and I wave people on. To me, like, I'm like, that's an act of kindness. People are always like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, I could tell, I just made him smile. I feel better. What's interesting is an act of kindness oftentimes is an act of kindness for yourself. Right? But there's a lot of great things that we can do. Send someone a text, right? My phone was blowing up yesterday. Okay. And I'm not like what a loved guy I am, right? But I answered every single one of them. Why? Because I was like, they took time out of their day to say happy birthday. I'm going to definitely say thank you. Right? Appreciation is another one. There are so many things. Yes, I have heard of the Starbucks thing. A lot of great things. By the way, you can do a Chick-fil-A. You can do whatever company you want to do, right? Okay, so the other one is gratitude. At every point of my day, every morning, my morning starts out with a tall glass of water. I sit down, I meditate, then I pray, and then I think about everything I'm grateful for that day. By the way, I knock off 2 of the 5 things right there. So she says, gratitude is one really big thing. Whether you want to write that down, send a text, make a phone call, whatever. Number 2 is she talks about meditation, right? What it does, it actually has an impact on your biochemistry again. So these are things that biochemically change your states. I think I have 5 right there. Is that right? All right. So be thinking about how do I want to show up to the world? And every time every time I can, which is every day, those are the 5 things that, like, to me, I'm successful that day if I do those things and I'm nurturing the relationships that matter most to me. So set yourself up for success, and I'll turn it over to Kyle.